Well, hi everybody, this is Angelo Quinones and you reach Zion Ministries. Zion Ministries is designed to give you dependable and accurate answers that come straight from God's holy and inspired word, the Bible. When I mean Bible, I'm talking about the original languages of the Bible, the Hebrew, the Aramaic, the Greek. We have to know it because it's very accurate, okay, very dependable. Now, of course, we have our translations and things like that, which is very good, but it's not to supersede or overlap or be the judge over the original languages of the Bible in the Bible. Okay, that's just the deal. Because you have the original languages of the Bible outside of the Bible, and you have the petrographs and things like that, and pictographs and whatever the case may be, right, outside of the Bible, but you have them inside of the Bible, and that's what we depend on, the Word of God. Now, I was looking at the full Greek construction of John 1:1, and I was taking a look at this, okay, in a row. Usually I look at a prepositional phrase or whatever the case may be, or an independent clause, and look at that, the title of that, and the doctrine of that, and the exegetical, we do the exegetical research and things like that, but I'm just looking at it in a row, a bird's eye view. But actually, it took a long time. So I mean, we'll go over it again, and maybe if I have time, because there's a typhoon coming either tonight or tomorrow. I think it's tomorrow. We're just getting ready for today here in the Philippines, and so that's the life here in the Philippines, man. I've been here for 3 years. Having been born in the United States of America, I'm a Spanish born American. I mean, for New York City, the whole 9 yards, from the Bronx, and then you resided to Queens. And so, relocated to Queens or whatever the case may be. I'm forgetting my English here in the Philippines, and then relocated to over here. And let's just put it like this without making a tutorial, within a tutorial, it's not for everybody, okay? Whether you get married or not, and not. And getting back to this, let's recite John 1:1 according to the biblical pronunciation, and then the modern pronunciation. And it goes something like this: Energe in halagos, kai halagos in prostanteon, kai theos in halagos. Energe in halagos, kai halagos in prostanteon, kai theos in halagos. Okay. And the modern way goes something like this. And I did it several times already, and I'll give you the Hebrew also of this text. Praise the Lord. He gets the glory, not me. Energi in ologos, ke ologos in proston theon, ke theos in ologos. Energi in ologos, ke ologos in proston theon, ke theos in ologos. Energi in ologos, ke ologos in proston theon, ke theos in ologos. Okay? So that's just to deal with that. Now, the Hebrew will go something like this. Now, I'm going to be using the 1817 Hebrew New Testament of John 1:1 to actually, recite this text. So it's not, Akanos is, Hutas, you know what I'm saying? All right, so it goes something like this. Behrashit haya hadabar, v'hadabar haya im ha'elohim, wa'elohim, or wa'elohim, really doesn't make a difference to me, haya hadabar, okay? So different strokes from different folks, the Hebrew and, which is just above, consonant with an A class, right? Sometimes it's like an E class. Nowadays, I think it's an E class. Yeshli ach ve'achot. I have a brother and a sister. The word "and" is "ve," so I mean, let's just deal with that, nowadays. Now, getting back to this, so we saw the full Greek construction of really the first clause here, which is supported by P66, P75. I was going to say Ephraim Mauritius, but it doesn't support this. It just supports the prepositional phrase. But after that, you're lost. Okay. Manuscript D or F supports this, and you have your Vaticanus text supporting this, and Sinaiticus or Sinaiticus or whatever you want to, however you want to pronounce that, and your Textus Receptus, Byzantine text form, your Greek editions like the United Bible Society's 4th edition, 5th edition, Byzantine text formed by Pierpont and Company, published in 2005, supports this. Your interlinears by Alfred Marshall and George Riker Berry. I mean, according to the Textus Receptus, all support this. I mean, so it's rich and it's here. Okay, I mean, your L manuscript supports a longer reading. It has an extra article, making it 18 Greek words, not 17, like this text has. What we usually read. But if the witnesses which whine and complain, which no pun intended, because their translation comes from Johannes Grieber, who was a witch along with his wife. I mean, it's just a deal. And it's one of the only translations that has a God. And we already looked at Theos in a predicate position, by the way. Okay, there can't be a God, according to the context and according to, the common knowledge that everybody should have, that, there are 10 ways that a Greek noun can be definite without an article. You see two examples here in John 1, A and C. But we're looking at just every single construction, and so let's recite it again. Let's just rehash it again, I should say, rather. So we saw the prepositional phrase, N. It looks like F, but it's actually an N there. That looks like a V. It's an N. It's called nu. Okay. The Hebrew equivalent is noon, actually. It looks different, but, that's the equivalent letter in Hebrew. Actually, this is equal to that, in a sense, because Hebrew came first. So that's a prepositional phrase, and we saw that a preposition probably was an adverb, according to the Manual Grammar of the Greek New Testament by Dana and Manti. And that it shows you the relationship between two words. In this situation, it's showing you the relationship that Logos or Logos had with Arche or Archi. Okay, that he was in the beginning. He wasn't over the beginning, under the beginning, alongside the beginning, whatever the case may be. He was in the beginning. He was in the beginning. Okay, and it's about 17 or so small Greek prepositions listed by Manti in his manual. And so, I mean, it's taking a particular case. It always takes the dative case. Preposition takes cases. Okay, what do you mean by cases? Well, I mean, nouns, Greek nouns are in particular a case. Okay, so you have around 7 or 8 cases nowadays, boiled down to like 4 or 5 cases to their chagrin. They like to make applesauce of out of the cases and mix the cases. You know what I'm saying? But there are really 7 or 8 cases if you really go back far enough in the older manuals. And so, I mean, you have your nominative case and your genitive case, and then your vocative case, and then your dative case, and accusative case, and ablative case, and locative case, and instrumental case. You got all those cases. And basically, knowing the cases is much more easier than tackling the verbs, some verb constructions. Okay? I mean, there are verb constructions that are very easy to detect, like tetelestai, the tet has been paid in full, reduplicating consonant with a connecting vowel, epsilon. Okay, that's very easy. And even the word to behold, okay, according to verse 12 of chapter 4 of 1 John, that's kind of easy, right? You have the theta there, and then the tau and the epsilon, and I mean, so there's some, and agenita is easy, or agenito. That's an easy construction, found and recorded around 2 times in that construction, and 1 time in the perfect tense. Okay, and twice in the aorist sense and once in the perfect tense. I mean, that's kind of easy to detect, agenita and stuff like that. It's easy. But there are some situations where, it may not be so easy. Okay, I mean, something. I mean, it might be easy like the setai. He will stand or he will rise. You have your tense stem, future tense stem, and your tense formative, and then your connecting vowel, and then maybe a vowel lengthened to an eta there. I have to check it out. And then tie for the personal ending, and again the connecting vowel, connecting the personal ending to the future transformative sigma, which probably means to synchronize anyway, so that's why they probably use it for the transformative. So, but the nouns are much more simple, are more simple. When I mean nouns, I mean, your regular nouns, okay? your infinitive, verbal nouns. I mean, but your regular nouns like theos and things like that is very easy to detect. I mean, it's just a nominative case. Sometimes more than not functioning as the subject of the sentence, sometimes functioning as a vocative, like Hebrews chapter 1 verse 8 and chapter 10 verse 7. So I mean, but the prepositions are very easy to detect because they don't inflect. They're the same. Just the meaning changes in your translation, whatever that translation is going to be. Okay? So you don't have to remember, a whole bunch of paradigms for the prepositions. Okay? There are no paradigms that you have to remember. It's and all the way through. When it's taking the dative in arche, or it's taking the dative in for Rome. I mean, when it's taking the dative like Cristo. I mean, so it's going to be n. It's not gonna inflect. Okay, it's not going to inflect. It's just going to be the same. Okay. So let's just deal with that. Now, arche, we found out that it's found and recorded, 55 times in the Greek New Testament. Incidentally, arche is found in verse 2. And it's found at least one other time, maybe twice more, but at least one other time in the Greek New Testament. And it's found and recorded in Philippians chapter 4, verse 15, okay, where it talks about there the beginning of the gospel. You got to check that out in Greek, because it doesn't say in the beginning there, according to some English translations. So you have to check out the Greek, and it does say enerche. Now, it does have a semantic range in the semantic pool. Okay, it does mean ruler or beginning. Okay, so you have to understand or rule. So I mean, it has other meanings as well. Principalities, right? Like in the plural. We checked out the plural form. Okay, which I think it ends in alpha sigma, I believe. Archas or something like that in verse 10 of chapter 1 of Hebrews. So we saw that there is a paradigm for it in the plural. Now the paradigm we saw that goes something like this: arche with eta, and our arches with the sigma with the genitive, arche in the dative with the iota subscription. This is it right here, and then archein with the nu, with an n, and that's in the accusative. Okay, so I mean, and then you have your plural part of the paradigm. And this is like a horizon we saw in other studies that is pointing you to the fact that Logos was in the beginning of time, but he was also before time. Okay, before time. That's just the deal. Before time, he was in time, in the beginning of time. Yes, creating things and stuff like that. But according to beginnings, okay, in Hebrews chapter 1 verse 10, he was before this particular time, and he ransacks all eternity. And I think the Greek word "ein," which is coming up next, supports that theological concept and truth. And now we get into ein. Ein is an imperfect tense. Ein is a little tiny word. It's in the imperfect tense, and it means that it's an action that hasn't been completed yet. Okay, it's an action that hasn't been completed yet in the past. Okay, it's an ongoing thing. It's a continuous, a subsistence that we're talking about when we're talking about the theology or the Christology of Logos. Okay, that he subsisted continuously, timelessly, and eternity, and eternally. Okay, and that's why I chose the title over this part of the over this particular scripture as subsistence. That's the title of John 1:1a, subsistence. Okay, and the progression of thought goes something like this: that subsistence, John 1:1a, intercommunion/relationship, John 1:1b, and John 1:1c has to do with nature/essence. Okay, the nature and the essence of Logos or Logos. So the Greek word ein is the first verb that's mentioned and recorded in the Gospel of John. Okay, it's from the Amy paradigm, but it's in the imperfect tense. And I already saw with you guys that there are 5 tenses in Greek, right? You have your aorist tense and your future tense, right? And then you have your present tense and imperfect tense and perfect tense. I hope I said that correctly. It's kind of hard to spit out. So, without going into great detail, the aorist tense is a completed act okay, basically, okay, in a past time. Okay, it's just like the word kicked, flipped, ripped. I mean, I don't know, swam and jumped and all that other stuff. That's a simple, action. This is not an action word though. This is a to be word. This is showing you the status of logos though. Okay, this is showing you the status of logos that he subsisted continuously. That's the idea. And people, have their examples of this, and I liken this to a basketball game that's going on, and you're in the basketball game, or you're watching the basketball game, like real close up. You know what I'm saying? But the aorist tense is a completed action, very unlike this Greek tense. The aorist tense is found and recorded in verse 3, and it has to do with something emerging or becoming or coming into existence. Okay, and that has to do with this is the aorist tense, and you see like the ed in the beginning of the word there. You know what I mean? The epsilon, it's like that's an augment, and so you see that's a completed action. And your future tense already mentioned one what there the setai found and recorded in the Greek Septuagint in around verse 3 of chapter 5 of Micah. He will stand, and that's in the future. Okay, that also that Jesus was going to have a God, and that's proving that's in the future. So if JW say, well, I mean, he had a God in the Old Testament, and Micah chapter 5 verse 4 proves that, well, you just bring him to verse 3 in the Greek Septuagint, and even in the English where it says that he will, that's in the future that he will have a God. Okay, not before. And that's a prophetic passage, by the way. You understand what I'm saying? Okay, that's just a deal. Now, it mentions Bethlehem and places like that in verse 2. Now, so aim is in the imperfect tense, and it's an aiming word, so to be word is a continuous thing. Okay? So, it's linear, it's continuous. It's just a continuous subsistence. It's not that he popped on the scene, or this scripture will be written something like this. Enarche epoesen katheas tan lagan. Or enarche egeneta ha logos. In the beginning, God created the logos, or in the beginning, the logos came into being. It doesn't say that over here. And I gave you, other scenarios that will fit into that that are not here. So I gave you about 7 best case scenarios for Jehovah's Witnesses that they don't even have in the Bible, either in the Old Testament or in the New. Now let's get into the article ha, which is a weak demonstrative, right? It's much more flexible than just the word the in English. It could be a pronoun, that one. It can be used for special definiteness. Oh, like in oh God. Thy throne, oh God, is forever and ever, right? It can be used as a function marker, right? If you look at an article like to, it can show you that Yesu is in the dative case and not in the genitive case, right? Because there's only one construction for the two cases when it comes to the Jesus paradigm. Okay, Yesu's paradigm. Yesus, Yesu, Yesu, and Yesun. So it can do that. Okay? Excuse me. So it could do a lot of neat things, and it's showing you, the actually, basically, that logos is the subject of the sentence. It's showing you that the upcoming word is going to be in the nominative case. It's showing you that actually logos is a proper name. It's showing you a lot of things. Okay, showing you a lot of things. Okay. Now, let's go into Greek word to the logos. Now logos is the next one here. Okay, and that's found 330 times in the Greek New Testament. Also found in the Greek Septuagint many times, but also found in Psalm 32, verse 6. In English, it's actually Psalm 33, verse 6. Probably in Hebrew, it's Psalm 33, verse 6. You understand what I'm saying? To lago is in the dative case, by the word of the Lord. Okay, where the heavens are formed, I think that's in the plural there for heavens. So that's just, it could be, let me see if I could see it here. It should be in the same thing, the same scripture. I don't think I moved it. I hope it's there. Yeah, it's not. Yeah, it's there. It's there. So it's. Let's see here. Oh, but I don't have verse 6 though. And it should be yeah. Well, it's to lago tu kuriu by the word of the Lord. And then it doesn't have the verb here. Or a helping word or verb, but let's check it out. Let's keep on reading. It says hoi uranoi. So that's in the nominative case, but it's in the plural. Okay, so that's in the, and actually in the dative also is to panumati, which I think it refers to the Holy Spirit. And by the word or by the spirit of his by the breath of his mouth, that refers probably to the Holy Spirit. And if it can be translated by the breath, well then maybe a pneumati in verse 19 of chapter 3 of First Peter can be also pronounced in that he was raised by the Spirit. So if you say by the breath here, you can say by the Spirit there. Okay, because that's also in the dative case. Okay. All right. Now, and so we saw the Logos paradigm. It goes something like this: Lagos, Lagu, Lago, Lagan, and then Lagoi, Lagon, Lagois, Lagus. Okay, so it goes something like that. That's a Logos paradigm. And we saw the article paradigm, and a paradigm. Not to get so philosophical about it, because I know it's your like projection, your outlook on something. It's a very deep thing, the meaning paradigm. Okay, I mean you got great discussions, philosophical discussions on the meaning of paradigm. But on the surface, it just means example or model. Not to get too deep into it. And I touched a little bit of the depths of it. If someone's outlook on something, okay. Now someone's outlook already was written, okay, in a paradigm, and you see the article paradigm being haheta. With an Omicron, tutes tu, toteto, tan. Those are all the singular articles, and you got hoi hai ta. This time with an alpha, ton, tois, and tus tas ta, also with an alpha, pointing out the plural form. And but getting back to Logos, I mean, so we saw the construction. It looks like a capital A. That's actually a capital L in Greek, lambda. Some people pronounce it lambda. You know what I mean? So, and then you have Omicron. Nowadays, it's an O called Omicron, and then you have a Y-looking letter as a gamma, as a G here, sounding letter, and then Omicron and final sigma. Okay. Now remember, in your ancient manuscripts like Vaticanus and Sinaiticus and stuff like that, you're going to see a C-looking letter for sigma or for the S, okay? You're not going to look at this sigma. You're not going to see that sigma, okay? You're going to see a C-looking sigma. That was the form of the sigma at that time when it was uncial writings, a capital letter base writings, letters. Incidentally, if you know your Greek alphabet, you're going to probably know like about 90% of the Coptic or the Egyptian alphabet. Okay? They have around over 30 letters in the Greek, in the Egyptian, in the Coptic alphabet. Okay? And that's very important because you have Coptic Bibles, you have Egyptian Bibles, so I mean, And archein halagos. Now, logos means what? He is one of the members of the Trinity. He is God. He eternally subsisted, number one. Number two, he had a deep personal relationship, intimate relationship with who we now know as God the Father. He wasn't the Son at the time, and who we now know as God the Father, who was recorded as being Theos in John 1b. The construction is theon in the accusative. This is the case of limitation as to extent. So you see the extent of the who he was with, the relationship. Okay, so this is limiting who he was with. That he was with Theos. Okay, so that's just to deal with that. And arche in halagos, and we saw that logos was in the beginning. So he's the subject of the sentence here, so he's in a nominative case. And we saw that to put something in a nominative case, well, you add a case ending. You add a case morpheme. Okay? If you say Angelo's hat was on the desk, you have to, okay, you have Angelo, right? And then you add an apostrophe and an S to show possession. Okay, so you're adding you're causing the word to inflect, okay, to change into a particular function. And I believe they call it a subjective case. Okay, over here you call it the nominative case, the subject nominative in Greek actually. And the Manual Grammar of the Greek New Testament has an example of this, for the Father loves the Son. Who's the subject of the verb loves? The Father. And so he's doing the action of loving the Son. And Son will be in the accusative case. He's the direct object of the verb loves. He's receiving, okay, the action. So he's in the accusative case construction. And that'll be ton huion or just huion there in that text. Excuse me, guys. So, that's why in English it says, in the beginning was the Word. Okay? You could say Word was, actually. So you have your predicate, the verb, and then your subject, word. Okay, so you have your, was is the predicate and the word is the subject. Or you have the designation being the word and your assertion being was. Okay? Predicating something about, okay, the word. An example in the Manual Greek Grammar of the Greek New Testament, you have tree is, or tree is green. So you have, your predicate, and then you have your subject and then predicate, or your designation and assertion. Well, Logos was in the pool of the Trinity, of the family of the Trinity. Okay, there was no limitation. Okay, he didn't take upon himself an additional nature as of now. It simply says that he subsisted as Logos. Now, it will be recorded later on, okay, in history and in the Bible, that he took upon himself an additional nature, which I call nature B, or nature Ato. But that came later in the incarnation in Bethlehem, and I already mentioned that's recorded in Micah chapter 5, verse 2. Okay, Bethlehem, house of bread, Bethlehem, right? Beth means house, right? So you have here a kai ha lagos sex, okay, egenita, and the word became flesh, and Greek word kai eskenosen, that's a verb form of skene, right? And that's in the aorist tense. The epsilon is telling me that, right? And you have your aorist tense them, right? And then you have that Nu is pointing out that this is in the The ending of this is pointing out that this is in third person. It's just like actually ain, right? Which is an Amy word, by the way. I don't know if I mentioned that. So the stem of this is laga, right, or logo, and they just added an s or a sigma to put it in a nominative case. To put it in a nominative case to make it the subject of the sentence, okay? To make it a subject nominative. And then you have other uses in a nominative. You have your nominative of exclamation and nominative of appellation and other nominatives. It's not as rich as the genitive or even probably the accusative. The genitive is very rich in uses, more than any other case, I believe. You have your genitive of time. Nicodemus came to Jesus by night, that manual says. And your genitive of place, Luke chapter 16. And then you have your genitive of relationship, which is one of my favorite genitives. A genitive of relationship, Jesus the Mary, right? Okay, but it's really Jesus. You have to say Jesus the Son of Mary. That article doesn't go with Mary, by the way, in that manual. And and then so you have your your partitive genitive. I will give it unto you a half of my kingdom. It's not the entire kingdom, it's half. That's one of my other favorite ones. So the genitive case is very rich. It's very rich in with a whole bunch of uses. Genitive being also the case of limitation, but that's the kind. What kind of a heart? What kind of a kingdom? You know what I'm saying? And the accusative case limits as to the extent of the hearing. Acts chapter 22, verse 9. It's not that they didn't hear the voice, they didn't understand the voice. That's why I think that the NIV and NASB gets it right, and King James has it wrong, according to that verse, compared with Acts chapter 9, verse 7. That the people already heard the voice, so you can't contradict that in chapter 22, verse 9. Doesn't make any sense. En er geen halagos. Now, kai halagos in prostantian, we have a copulative connective kai. It's a connecting word. It's a conjunction. It's a linking word, right? And so it's spelled out, K-A-I or kappa, alpha, iota, right? You have that in the left-hand side, like the third line down up below the one. And that's just linking the first independent clause to the second independent clause that's coming up, so it's linking that. It's a progression of thought, I believe. So it's linking one thought to another thought that's coming up, and that chi is going to be used in section C, and and that's another thought altogether, okay, of logos. It's telling you about his nature. Section C, which I officially call the Caesarean section, because if you're born again, you're going to believe in the deity of Christ. If you're not born again, you're not going to believe. So we saw halagos already, so that's nothing new there. But it is giving you that this is a person distinct from the person that's coming up. Okay, this is logos. That's his title. Incidentally, if you want to translate that in logos into some languages, you're going to have to probably use Jesus, because the thing is that the word "word" actually is feminine in some languages, so you have to be careful with that. It says a handbook translation of the Gospel of John. So the Greek word "ain" is after that. This Greek word "ain" is the same Greek word, of course. "Ain" nowadays called "in." So it's energe in ologos, ke ologos in prostonte on keteos in ologos. So they love that e and e and o sound. You know what I'm saying? The modern Greeks do a lot, and actually the r for the r, they love that sound also for their r. So this is not really showing you that the subsistence was eternal. It could be doing that, but it's showing you that the intercommunion / relationship that was going on was continuous. And the Word was with God. He was with Him in a very deep, intimate way, continuously. Okay? That's a different thing. I already told you that He subsisted, that there's a subsisting going on, and Huparkon points that out. Okay, Has en marfe teu Huparkon, in verse 6 of chapter 2 of Philippians. So it's telling you that He was subsisting, okay, as God, right? And that He had that nature only. And then He took upon Himself an additional nature, verse 14 here, and verse 7 in chapter 2 of Philippians, right? And Labon is the participial construction there, right? Omega nu, So that is telling you that He is telling you that He took the form, something that He didn't do in verse 6. He didn't take the form of God, or the form wasn't given to Him by anyone. He merely subsisted in that form. Actually, it says subsisting. So he's God at the writing at the writing of that verse, right, by the Apostle Paul, and He's also subsisting, or actually, He's actually taking, right, the and has the nature of man. So He's still God and He's still man at the time of the writing of Philippians chapter 2 verses 6 and 7. Not merely that He, subsisted as God, but then, He's subsisting as God, okay, all right, and also as man at the same time, and we call that, okay, all right, in theological terms, theanthropos. That He is the God-man, you understand what I'm saying? So it's very important. But it comes to this. Enarche in halagos, kai halagos in, okay, so it's telling you was, the Hebrew we saw is haya. That can mean, okay, all right, to be, was. Okay? It does have other meanings, I understand. But, I mean, haya does mean also, okay, was. Behreshit haya hadabar. Behreshit means in beginning. Haya means was. And ha means, like this ha, da, if you will, And then dabar, D-A-B-A-R, or dalet with an A class, and bait with an A class, and resh, which is the Hebrew R, just like an opposite side R, Well, that word means what? In the beginning was the what? Behreshit haya hadabar. And, okay, over here says Kai, the word was with God. So you have one person here being with another person. But the construction changes, okay, from hatheos to, you understand what I'm saying, to ton theon. It's just showing you that that's in the accusative case, and so the article is different. Instead of ha is ton, because the subject of the verb here is logos. This is the subject of the clause, the second clause, the first clause, incidentally, and the C clause. But the ton theon is just showing you, okay, that's in the accusative case construction. Those words are in the accusative case construction. Ton for the article and theon for God. Incidentally, I already said that the word God appears more than 1,300 times in the Greek New Testament and well over 2,000 times in the Greek Septuagint, I believe. I think I saw that number over 2,000 times. But let's get into the prepositional phrase. Okay? First of all, the preposition. Now, we already saw what's a preposition. A preposition is a word that actually shows you the relationship of two words. We saw that in N. That's a preposition. And that is showing you the relationship between logos and arche. But this preposition, pros, okay, so you see like a stool. I'm on the fourth line below the one, and the second one. Remember, you read Greek from left to right, never from right to left. And I forgot to say, you can read it from right to left if you're parsing the word. Not that you're reading the verse, but if you're looking at one individual word, you can look at it from left to right or right to left, and you can break it apart and stuff like that. And you can look at if you're looking at a vowel, you can look at the root of the word and then the case ending or whatever the case may be, or you could look at the personal ending tie and look at the connecting vowel. Like epsilon, and then the future transformative sigma, and then the future tense stem, ste, ste, or sigma tau eta. You could look at that. You could break it apart. You could parse it. But you read Greek from left to right. So NRK ein halagas, kai halagas ein pras. So that's a proposition. Now, there's a lot of debate about this. What does this show that logos was in some sort of subjection facing theos? It does mean with, but it also means, you could translate it facing. Facing. Now, when you're talking about people, you're talking about a very deep relationship. You're talking about, you're talking about intercourse. When you're talking about a man and a woman, you understand what I'm saying? But when you're talking about the deity, you can't use that. So intercommunion is the proper what that's used among scholars. Intercommunion, and I put / relationship. So this is two words under the in the title of John 1:1b. Intercommunion / relationship. Subsistence was the first title of this verse for part A. Now we're getting into not only the subsistence of Logos, but also his relationship with another person, different than himself. But the next part is going to show you that even though there was a difference between persons, between personalities, between personhood, the same nature, okay, excuse me, guys, the same nature, Logos has the same nature as the Theon recorded in John 1:1b. Okay, that's a progression of thought: subsistence, intercommunion / relationship, and nature / essence. You understand what I'm saying? That's a preposition, pros. It's one of, like I said before, around 17 small Greek prepositions. Pros, pra, ek, and all that other good stuff. Meta, hupa, para, kata. Peri. So you have all these tiny, anti. You have all these tiny prepositions, and this is one of them. Unlike NRK, this has the article right after it. Now, different strokes from different folks. Article doesn't need to be in front of arche, and it will be te, dative feminine, singular article. From the side of the paradigm, singular part of the paradigm, dative paradigm, side of the paradigm, it will be that. You can ask Jehovah's Witnesses, so-called Jehovah's Witnesses, what would be the article that you're complaining about that arche doesn't have? We're saying that arche actually is a pointer to eternity also, but the Greek word aionios is not there, or eternal is not there, says the witness. Okay, so how are you telling me that the Greek word ein and the Greek word arche is showing you the eternal, timeless, continuous subsistence of Logos? I don't see it. Well, of course you don't see it. They don't teach you these things at the tower. Okay, that's the problem. That's why I'm here doing this stuff. That's what I'm saying. Praise God. Anarche ein halagas kai halagas ein pros tanteano. What's the spelling of all these Greek words so far? Well, N is spelled out E or epsilon nu. Arche is spelled out alpha, rho, chi, eta with the Yoda subscript, right? Then the Greek word ein is spelled out eta, nowadays called eta, nu, nowadays called ni, with a soft reading marker and a circumflex, right? And then you have the ha article, nowadays called all, like all Canada, right? With the rough reading marker. Okay, so it's ha, not ah. And then you got logos, spelled out capital lambda, omicron with the acute marker. So the accent is right there in the first syllable. And then the second syllable is gas. Okay, gamma, omicron, final sigma. Then you have a comma there. And then you have the Greek word chi, and that means and here. Kappa, alpha, iota, right? With the grab marker this time. So it's not chi, it's chi. Okay. And then you have the ha again, and logos, and then ein again. And then pros, which is spelled out B, rho, omicron, final sigma. Omicron with a grab marker. Now, the grab marker and the acute marker are accent markers. Okay. One is pointing to, like logos has, right? In all instances, in John 1:1 A, B, and C, you see a little tiny marker above the first omicron, right? And that marker is pointing, it's an acute marker and it's accent marker, and it's pointing to, like, let's say 7 o'clock on the clock. When it's doing that, okay, it's showing you a rise in pronunciation or accent. So you say, it could be a slight, rise. Okay, la, gas. You see, but when it's the other way, like in the word, I believe, theon, or let me see, no, theon has it, theos, in John 1:1c. That's why I don't say theos. I say theos because it's a decline in accent. So that's a graph marker, like pointing to like 5 o'clock on a clock. You understand what I'm saying? But anyway, some people could reverse that, by the way. But I like to say the 7 and 5 o'clock. Now the pros, okay, it's a prepositional phrase. That looks like a little stool, right? I'm on the fourth floor, right? On the, so let me see. We have the second floor actually in the bus. You know what I'm saying? And no, actually, it's the third floor. It's 6 floors. It's like a building. It's like 6 floors, story of floor. I'm on the third floor. Now wait a minute. I think it's even more floors. Let me see that. There's more floors than that. No, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 floors. So I'm actually on the 1, 2, 3, the fourth floor. Actually, getting up there. Okay, but we're going the other way. So pros. I mean, this looks like a Greek structure, doesn't it? Though the P, and it's not pronounced pi, by the way. I mean, I know that Alfred Hitchcock, which was the greatest movie director of all time. I know this, the Jaws and all that stuff. I understand that, but to me, he's the greatest. And then some people think that he's the greatest. I mean, he's when the Trinity made Alfred Hitchcock, they broke the mold. So that's just a deal. And so in his movie, Torn Curtain, which is a great movie, by the way. You should get that movie if you like espionage and stuff like that. You understand what I'm saying? The Greek letter that you saw on the ground and stuff like that, that's the Greek letter P, but they pronounced it pi there. Because it was part of a mathematical equation, but it's not pronounced pi, it's pronounced P. And even the modern Greeks pronounce this letter P. That's a Greek structure you see there, like a temple. Okay, it does have a meaning there, just like sigma. And all these letters mean something. Incidentally, there's about 50 or 51 Greek letters here. Not different Greek letters, but in this verse. And also 17 Greek words here. And 5 Greek words in John 1:1a, 7 in John 1:b, and 5 in John 1:1c. There's 17 Greek letters here. About 14 or 15 different Greek letters in total. You don't get into the complete alphabet of the Greek alphabet, even though it's not really complete, because there's about 3 letters that we don't see nowadays, like parakisma and stuff like that, which incidentally means pregnancy. You know what I'm saying? So I mean, you don't see those, but I mean, according to what we have now, you see the alphabet gets to be completed around verse 22 of this chapter. You see, I think Pasi there for the first time, and capping off the alphabet, not in order, but I mean, I'm just saying. It takes 22 verses to actually see the whole alphabet. Yes, I did that painstaking thing. I didn't read it in the book. I actually went through it, so I was counting the letters. I hope I'm right, by the way. Maybe you could do it. So pros means with, but doesn't mean in regard to. Well, it doesn't say regard to here. Okay? It means facing. I mean, he was with. When you're with somebody, you're facing somebody. You understand what I'm saying? That's why some other scholars, they mention prosopon, right? Prosopon, face, right? Prosopon, face to face, right? Or panim el panim, or face to face in Hebrew. You know what I'm saying? Found and recorded like around in, Exodus chapter 34 or something like that, So, I mean, one word that's not here is Tina, and that's mentioned and recorded by Murray J. Harris in his famous book, Jesus is God. Great book. I don't agree with everything that Murray J. Harris said in his lifetime. I don't even know if he's alive now upon this earth. I mean, I don't know, he might be dead. But when he was writing and stuff like that, he was saying that, Jesus was resurrected according to the Spirit. I mean, the Christian Research Institute had some beef with that. You understand what I'm saying? In the 90s, when the Institute was the Institute. You know what I mean? Not now with the Eastern Orthodox mumble jumble that Hank Hanegraaff is getting involved in. That he's involved in. You know what I'm saying? And archein halagas kahalagas in pros tan theon. So pros is a preposition, and it's translated with here. Okay, im is actually the preposition in Hebrew. Okay, it's just like I think it's like I forgot the construction. I think it's like im. I think it might be like an aleph with an I class underneath it, or I forgot the construction for im though. But you got the final mem anyway. So Tina's not here, and that really means like some subjection or adoration or something like that. Murray J. Harris points out that word is not here. Tina, like Tina Turner. You understand what I'm saying? So that's a great help for the Trinitarian. That it doesn't say that he was worshiping God. It doesn't say that he was in subjection to God. And JW could point out 1 Corinthians chapter 15, verse 28, but so what? We already know that better than you guys. And that's after the incarnation, not before, like this text is talking about. This text is talking about what happened before the incarnation. You understand what I'm saying? Not after the incarnation, where you see all the limitations of Jesus, who was only, God here, and is called Logos, and God here in the text. Excuse me, guys. Well, what's the object of the preposition? Well, the object of the preposition in arche is arche. The object of the preposition in pros tan theon is theon. That's the object of the preposition, okay? A pros is taking the accusative, okay? And so I think that's the only case it takes. So pros tan, it's not like kata that takes two, right? So I mean, it's not like meta that takes two. It's taking one case, okay? The accusative case. But I thought you saw that prepositions take the dative case. No, I said that that particular preposition takes a dative case. The particular case that I'm talking about is pros, and that takes another case. So you just see a different kind of construction. Even though tan is masculine, okay, and theos is masculine. Okay? Now, I already mentioned tan is one of the 24 articles, okay, in the accusative singular side of the paradigm. Okay? Tan, tain, ta. Okay? Now, the opposite of this, gender-wise, is tain, theon, with an alpha, theon. In, that's the feminine side of the theos paradigm. And that means goddess, and that's found and recorded once, okay, in Praxis Apostolorum, Acts of the Apostles, chapter 19, where it talks about the goddess Artemis or Diana, or whatever you want to call that false demigod. So there is a feminine side of the paradigm, okay? And it'll probably go something like this. They are, let me see, like they are, theos, thea and theon. Probably goes something like that. I'm just making an educated guess. I never saw that they are with an alpha paradigm, the goddess paradigm. But it does exist in the Bible. Probably the whole paradigm is found when you include the Old Testament. But you see at least two constructions for the feminine in chapter 19. You see thea, theta epsilon alpha, and theon, theta epsilon alpha and nu. And you see the article tain right in front of it. This is in the masculine, so it's actually tan, theon. Now, tan theon is not greater than theos. Just because it's theon and theos is theos, it doesn't mean it's greater. It's just in a different case. You have to understand as a witness. It doesn't mean that theon is greater than theos. So what are you going to do about, in the beginning God created the heavens and the earth? What are you going to do about that? He's theos there. It's actually, NRK epoiesen hatheas tan uranan kaitain gain. What are you going to do about that, right? So it doesn't have anything to do with, who's greater or whatever the case may be. There was no such thing as someone being greater than another when it has to do with the Trinity here. That came later, again, in the incarnation, in the limitation, in the taking of the form, Marphane in the accusative, no pun intended, right? In Philippians chapter 2, verse 7, okay, Marphane there's in the accusative. He took that only. It's limited to that. That's why it's in the accusative case. Some people call it an objective case, And archein halagas kai halagas in proston theon. And I already mentioned that theos, the theos paradigm goes something like this. Okay, now he was only God here. Now that he became something else, okay, but he added unto him another title in becoming the Father, okay, of Logos. When Logos took upon himself an additional nature in Bethlehem. You understand what I'm saying? So he didn't become something else, even though, okay, Logos, Theos, and Tapanuma actually, made appearances in the Old Testament, right, to Abraham, right? So, who we now know as God the Father made theophanies, who we now know as the Lord Jesus Christ made Christophanies, appearances of Christ, right? And who we now know as the Holy Spirit, okay, because we didn't know anything about him before, okay, that's how I said, by the word of his breath, by the breath of his mouth, and then, a dove coming down, in the early gospel, that doesn't even mention, it does say this, actually, incidentally, in some manuscripts it says, okay, panuma. So do you translate that, a spirit of a God? In some manuscripts, okay, you understand what I'm saying? We saw the spirit, and we saw the spirit of, and the spirit, and a spirit of a God. You don't translate it like that, even though it doesn't have an article in some manuscripts. You understand what I'm saying? See the evidence for that in the volume entitled Matthew, New Testament Greek manuscripts edited and arranged by Reuben Swanson and forwarded by the great Greek scholar Bruce M. Mesker. So you're going to see that when you come to Matthew chapter 3, the variant readings for Pneuma and Theos there, that some manuscripts have that in the anarthrous state. So what are you going to do? It's not definite, even though it's it's talking about God and it's talking about the Spirit and a spirit of a God. Come on, you don't translate it like that, right? You understand what I mean? So the root of theos is thea, just like logos. The root of logos is loga. Okay, and then you just add a case morpheme or a sigma to put it in a nominative case. Okay. But actually, I'm talking about theon. So what you do, okay, you put to make it function in the accusative case. Okay, my eyes jumped down a line from theon to theos, right there underneath it. And probably that's what happened when people were copying it, and that's why there's some differences in manuscripts. You understand what I'm saying? Incidentally, so getting back to the third line, I should say, right? To put it in the accusative case or the objective case in English, right? To put it in the accusative case in Greek, instead of a sigma, they added a nu, the B-looking letter, which is an N in Greek. You understand what I'm saying? So they have the stem, thea, or the root of the word thea, which contains the meaning. Actually, theta or vita nowadays, it's called in and of itself that means divine. You understand what I'm saying? In and of it means divine. So, I mean, you don't really need anything else. Okay, but I mean, you do have the stem. And the thing is that, and see how I said that these letters mean something? Getting back to arche, alpha means rising, right? It means rising. So, I mean, that's just the deal. Now, getting back to theon, that's an accusative case. So you have three different cases here in John 1:1. okay, A, B, and C. You have three different cases. You have the dative case, arche, the nominative case, logos, and the accusative case, theon. The accusative case again has to do with limitation as to extent. He was with theon. That's the limitation of the relationship. Okay. You can say that that logos is in the subjective case, logos, and theon is in the objective case in English, or in Greek, logos is in a nominative case. Okay, that's a subject nominative, right? And the accusative case, okay, is the construction for theos there. It has an article pointing out a personality, as a matter of fact. Well, I think that's it for now because my family's coming back. My wife and my baby's coming back, so they're not going to allow me to finish, to my chagrin. And so we learned quite a bit. Now, at least we made it to John 1:1b. Okay? We mentioned that the word Tina is not in this text in John 1:1b, meaning some sort of subjection or adoration or whatever, or, to theon. I should say to theo, but anyway, to theo, okay. But to theon. Okay, you understand what I'm saying? There's no subjection like that, according to this text. The words that would help the witnesses are just not simply here. Tina is not here. Allah, meaning but this, but that, alpha, lambda, alpha. That's not in John 1:1c. Epoiesen, that would be a great help if you had almost word for word and construction for construction. From Genesis 1:1 being here in John 1:1. Energe epoiesen hate astan lagan. Well, that tells you that flat out that John is trying to mimic word for word and for construction, Okay, as that fan is right in my face and it's cold, guys. So I'm trying to spit it out now. The only difference is just actually lagan. And I put logos in the accusative case, because he's the object of God's creation in that scenario of logos being a creature. That's not here in the text. So just tell the witnesses that a construction like this, energe epoiesen hape as tan lagan, is not near the Bible. Not even near. It's not any. Forget about here. It's just not in the Bible. You see him creating things, and I already found a verse for you that says that logos created all things. I mean, in John 1:2 and the Greek Septuagint, Psalm 32, verse 6. And don't give me, that was in the passive voice. What passive voice you're talking about in verse 3? Use a manual Manual Greek Grammar of the Greek New Testament by Dana and Manti, where it has three uses of the passive voice. Which one are you talking about? Are you talking about the passive voice with direct agent? Praxis Apostle on the Acts of the Apostles, chapter 22, verse 30. You're talking about that? Where the Apostle Paul received the accusation of the Jews? Are you talking about that? Or are you talking about the passive voice with impersonal agent around verse 8, chapter 2 of Ephesians? You're talking about that? Those two are not here. Okay, and actually here. Okay. Panta diatu ageneto, or geneta. You understand what I'm saying? That's not here. But if you're talking about the passive voice with intermediate agent, well, now you're talking. And not only that, you see in verse 10 of chapter 1 of Hebrews that he made all things by his hands, it says. You know what I'm saying? So he says that he laid down the foundation. Actually, God the Father is telling, Jesus, that he did that. He did that. The work of his hands. He laid the foundation. That's what it says. Now he did it through logos, yeah. But so what? You trying to tell me that Logos was like Casper the Friendly Ghost that didn't do anything at all when you pointed a water pistol through him or a paint gun and painted the wall or scored at the wall, and Casper the Friendly Ghost wasn't even a part of the wedding or the painting of the wall? It's not like that at all. The passive voice with intermediate agent, and that's what's going on in verse 3, but we're not there yet. You understand what I mean? Energía en halagas kai halagas in prostanteon. Energía no logos que o logos in prostanteon. To finish, keteos in o logos or kai theos in halagas. It's hard to switch. It's not like just pulling a lever to switch gears on a bicycle. You understand what I'm saying, guys? Okay. Erechim halagas kai halagas in prostante on. So Tina's not there. You understand what I'm saying? Incidentally, haste is not there in John 1:1c. Mouse pointed that out in his little tiny little commentary on JWs. I mean, it lasted like about maybe 2 minutes. Okay, when he was talking about the article in Basics of Biblical Greek, which is a masterpiece. The dog interrupted. Okay, I understand. I agree. But it was kind of funny anyway. The dog, entering. You can't even see the dog. You probably saw the top of his head or something like that. I mean, interrupted him in the study. And he has to go. They say, oh, we have to get back into Greek. Greek is the heavenly language. And it is. Okay, the article is your friend. Okay, but I say when you don't have the article, then you're lost. Okay, you understand what I'm saying? All right. So energía en halagas kai halagas in prostanteon. So pros, I mean, it can mean in regard to a certain context, but it's not in regard to here. It means, he's with. He was with him in a very intimate, personal way. You understand what I'm saying? Well, I better stop here. But I was recapping a little bit, and then I jumped into another thing because the thing is that, my wife and baby didn't come. It wasn't them. Okay. So, I mean, we looked at the spelling of that and of these words. So, again, N or N is spelled out epsilon and nu. Looks like a B, but it's not a B. It's an N in Greek. Called knee nowadays. You understand what I'm saying? Like you hurt your knee. Then our G is spelled out alpha, rho, chi, eta. Nowadays pronounced alpha, rho, chi, eta. The P looking letter is not a P in Greek. So when you're looking at a P looking letter in Greek, it's not a P. It's an R. Like Ralph, Randy, Rolf. You understand what I'm saying? It's the first letter in, that's a rough breathing, but it's the first letter in Greek when it has to do with Rome. Okay? The city of Rome. Then you have the X-looking letter, but it's not an X, it's a CH. It's a gutter. You understand what I'm saying? So that's far out. And then you have an N-looking letter in our G. It's not even an N, it's an E. Nowadays, it's an I class. Then we saw Ain, that's about Eta and Nu. We saw those letters already. Okay, so E class and then an N. And then Ha is an O class, like in the word hot in Biblical Greek. Okay, ha, nowadays pronounced O. There is no rough reading in the articles. Incidentally, another thing that's not here is the indefinite. It's the indefinite article paradigm, according to modern Greek. You don't have that in Biblical Greek. There is no indefinite article in John 1:c. You understand what I'm saying? You don't have any, enas, mia, ana, sort of going on here. You understand what I'm saying? Now, so that's just an O, but it's ha because it's like an open quote, doesn't it? Look like that above the article. So when you see that, that's a rough reading article. That's the presence of aspiration. That's the point out aspiration. There's an H sound. Okay. Now in Hebrew, you just have the hey. You don't have a rough breathing mark or anything like that. It's a consonant is an H. Hey. It's called hey. It actually means to behold, by the way. So the tetragrammaton actually means hand, behold, nail, behold. Yod, hey, wow, or vav, hey. That's telling you the gospel account in the tetragrammaton, which means 4 letters, by the way, or 4 writings. I get into that in my tetragrammaton discussion that I put on YouTube. Okay? And praise God. He gets the glory, not me again. Energy in halagas, and then we saw the spelling of logos, lambda, omicron, gamma, omicron, sigma, or logos. Now the problem with looking at these letters, reading these letters, if you're an English-speaking person for the first time, you're looking at it. Well, it looks like an A, and then the third letter looks like a Y. But there is no Y in biblical Greek. There is a Y in modern Greek, you see? There is no V in biblical Greek. There is no W in biblical Greek. You don't have any of those letters. Okay? There is no H in biblical Greek. There you have your rough breathing marker. Okay, fine, but it's no H. Okay? So when you're looking at something that looks like an incomplete capital A, it just doesn't have the line in the middle. It's not an A, it's an L. Okay? Now, comma, so that's our first independent clause. Incidentally, John 1:1a is a declarative indicative. It's a declaration of a simple fact, a projected fact by the Holy Spirit through the Apostle Paul. But that's it for now, because I think my wife and baby are coming in the house. It is Angelo Quinones giving glory to God the Father, to the Lord Jesus Christ, and in the Holy Spirit. Okay? Take care, guys. Bye-bye now. Wait for a second. Huh? Okay, take care, guys. Bye. Don't forget to subscribe and to leave a comment on the screen. Hey, give me a thumbs up, okay? Thanks, guys.